and welcome to the game of Jeopardy! Today's topic is the 7 principles of design. This is our contestant. What's your name?
Riley.
Riley. Alright, let's get this started. For our first category, we have balance. For $300, your question is? So what is your answer to that question?
2 things that weigh the same?
Let's check the board. So that was the definition of balance. Let's see some examples. Those were some examples of balance. Now moving on to our next category. The topic is contrast. For $300, here's your question. Whatever you want.
Okay. Go ahead.
So what is your answer to that question?
Black and white?
Let's check the board. So that was the answer to what is the definition of contrast. Would you like to see some examples?
Sure.
Let's show her some examples. Those were some examples of contrast. Now moving on to the topic of emphasis. For $300, your question is, what is your answer to this question for $300?
Something that stands out?
Let's check the board. So that was the answer to what is the definition of emphasis. Now, let's see some examples. Those are some examples of emphasis. Now moving on to our next category of unity. For $300, your question is, what is your answer to this question for $300?
Everything that blends together?
Let's check the board. So that was the answer to the question of unity.
Can I see some examples?
Sure, let's show her some examples. Now those were some examples of unity. Moving on to our next category of pattern. For $300, your question is, what is your response to this question for $300?
Things that repeat?
Let's check the board. So that was the definition of pattern. Would you like to see some examples?
Okay.
Okay, let's show her some examples. Those were some examples of pattern. Now we're moving on to our next category, which is movement. Let's check our first question for $300. So what is your answer? What is the definition of movement for $300?
Things that move?
Let's check the board. So that was the definition of movement. Would you like to see some examples of movement?
Sure.
Let's show her some examples of movement. Now those were some examples of movement. Now moving on to our final category, rhythm. And your question for $300 is, so what is the definition of rhythm for $300?
A musical beat?
Let's check the board. Well, that was the definition of rhythm. So, do you want to see some examples?
I guess.
Okay, let's show her some examples of rhythm. Thanks for joining me and
Riley.
today on Jeopardy, the 7 principles of design. Good night, everybody.